It's a beautiful day in this Libertyhood, a beautiful day for a candidate. Would he be mine? Could he be mine?
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Mark Claire.
Welcome back, my Liberty Legos, to another edition of Lions of Liberty, your home for great conversations about the ideas of liberty. And boy, oh boy, are we going to have another one here today in this episode number 220, which means that you can find today's show notes featuring links to everything we discuss and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com/220. And with election season heating up, there is no better time to go and get yourself some Liberty gear over at libertymaniacs.com. As a listener of this program, you can receive 10% off your entire order by using the discount code Lions of Liberty at checkout. You can go get yourself a Donald Trump "We Shall Overcome" shirt, like I've got. Again, that's libertymaniacs.com. The discount code is Lions of Liberty. And like I said, we're going to have another great conversation about the ideas of liberty today, and we're going to do that with my co-host today. That's right, I'm going to call you a co-host, the man that is sitting to my left at this very moment, the venerable Brian McWilliams.
Hello again. Yeah, co-host. Wow, moving on up.
You are moving on up, that's right.
I love it.
It comes with no pay raise, I should add.
Nothing ever does come with a pay raise. Not in the podcasting business, man.
No, not yet. And, well, Brian, I'll let you tell everybody why it is you're here, present in the Lions of Liberty studios today, and what are we here to do? We've got a little project we're going to start.
Well, you know what? After months of wading through fan mail up to my eyeballs saying, Brian, when is there going to be another Rand Pauluses and Minuses
Physical
style
fan
show?
mail. You got actual letters?
Physical fan mail. I don't know if you call it fan mail, hate mail, bills, credit card bills. It's all the same thing. It's got my name on it. It doesn't matter. But the point is, we're back with a new show that's following the Pauluses and Minuses format. And basically what that is, we look at some statements or some actions that have been going on from a certain somebody we'll mention in just a moment, and we grade them. Now, that certain somebody may be a candidate. And maybe a candidate for president.
For president?
You heard right, sir.
Are we talking about...
Yes, that's right. Gary Johnson.
Gary Johnson, all right.
And his Weld, it's a good name for Bill Weld because he is welded to Gary Johnson's side and he never leaves him.
He really is wedded to his hip. I don't want to take credit for this statement, but I heard Jason Stapleton say the other day that he was running as Gary's co-president because they're always on every interview together. They're always at each other's side, and they're more like they're running truly as a team as opposed to I'm the vice president supporting Gary. That's the general feel I get.
I mean, I guess in one way it's nice to see that a vice president and a president are so simpatico in their feelings, but of course there becomes cracks in that when you see certain things that certain VPs or presidents say that are horrible for the libertarian cause, which we'll also get into. So, but you might ask, okay, so how are you going to do this? How are you going to...
what are we going to call this thing first of all?
Oh, well.
For anybody that doesn't look at the title of their podcast when they download it on their
Who
does?
iPhone. So we're going to call it Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood.
All right, Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood.
Yeah, put on your sweaters. So embrace the libertarian childhood in everyone and join us as we venture into the safe, always fun world of Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood.
I'm very excited about this. As you know, doing the Rand Pauluses and Minuses show was a popular favorite among our fans and among myself as well, because we just kind of get to let loose, have a couple of drinks. Well, I'm having a beer right now. You're being dry for the night, but just like some of the humor, maybe.
Aha! I do like the dry humor. And, you know, Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood is a dry county. Gary himself does not drink, although he does smoke the dudes.
Is that true? Gary doesn't drink at all?
Yeah, he had. I was watching some interview where he said he hadn't drank, but he had, you know, he liked smoking weed, but he was refraining.
Has he never drank? He had to drink at some point.
No, I think he drank at
You
some
don't
point.
run a one-man handyman business without having a few brewskis.
No, meanwhile, you look at Bill Weld's nose, and you know that's a drinking man.
Oh, that is a drink.
There are blood vessels popping
Have you
off.
seen his, like, red-faced pictures, though? There's all these photos of Bill Weld, which is the reddest face in town. I mean, that's enough. I mean, he's from Boston. Come on.
Maybe he just came in from the cold always.
He's just always cold,
in a freezer.
He keeps his house at a brisk 32.
He walks into your house. If you invite him to your house, he walks straight to the freezer and he sticks his face in the freezer for 4 minutes, and then he'll talk to you.
All right, we're ready for the press conference. Any questions? You got 4 minutes till my face heats up and I can't talk anymore.
All right, Mark. So what are we doing here? You want to share the format?
All right. So, if you're not familiar with our Rand Pauluses and Minuses show that we did back in the day when good old Randy Pants was running for POTUS, we have a little bit of a grading system. So, for every topic we cover here, we'll be deciding whether Gary or at some points his partner in crime, Bill Weld, are doing something positive for liberty or something negative. And first of all, if you haven't heard Rand Pauluses and Minuses, I know we got a lot of new fans to the show. Go check out some old episodes at the archive, which you can find at
lionsofliberty.com/Rand.
All right. We had no HTTPs, no colons there. You're really learning how to give out a URL. Good stuff. So we'll be judging Gary and Mr. Weld at times on a very strict scale. When he does something positive, we'll be giving Gary a
John's on.
And when he does something that we feel is negative for liberty, we will give him a
John's off.
That's right. When he does something naughty, he'll get a John's off. So, Brian, what is our first item? Let's get into this thing. I'm pretty stoked to start. Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood.
Well, it's impossible to get around one of these topics, of course. The Orlando shooting just happened. So all the politicians were going out of their ways to politicize the living hell out of it, which I hated. I despise anybody taking advantage of a
Trump
situation.
was by far the worst. Trump said,
he's awful.
Trump comes out, thanks for the congrats, everybody, that's congratulating me for warning you about Islamic terrorism, and immediately just making a political issue out of it. And he does this press conference where he goes off about immigration. This guy's an American citizen, born in America. Shut your mouth.
Damn well right. And Obama wasn't any better either. He did a whole press conference about how guns are bad. I didn't mention the fact that this was caused by someone that had been brainwashed and was part Islamic and was maybe.
Are you pulling a Trump on him? Are you getting mad he didn't say radical Islam?
Well, you know what?
Because I hate that shit. It's like, the neocons are obsessed with, if I don't hear this key word, radical Islam, then you're like, whatever.
Well, it's not the key word that he needs to say it, but I just felt pissed off that he's only making it about gun control. Meanwhile, there's been studies that have shown that if somebody wants to go and commit a mass murder or a mass attack, they're going to do it.
I don't need fucking studies to know that either. I just can use my brain.
Right,
Timothy McVeigh didn't need a single gun to do what he did.
Yeah, exactly. So, let me get to our first story.
I can feel my blood pressure rising just talking about it because it's been a week or so on Facebook of dealing with gun control stuff, and I actually took the step of deleting Facebook only from my phone, so at least I wouldn't see all those notifications because I have this, anal part of my brain that if I see 30 notifications, I must look at them all.
That's not an exaggeration. He really did. I saw the proof.
Fact. So
he replaced it with some sort of Candy Crush, or what's the one John McAfee plays?
Yeah, it's the McAfee Crush.
Frozen Fall.
Something like that.
Some sort of Disney movie, Frozen Crush Fall. Anyway, he's a wonderful man. We love him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did post about that. He said he was upset. I just spent 4 hours playing like Frozen Fall or something like that.
He loves it.
All right.
So here's the first thing. So Gary Johnson, to his credit, he was asked, immediately after the fact, what he thought. And he went out of his way to say that it shouldn't be something that should be politicized. You have to stop and really look at the situation, which I agree with. If it's something where everybody wants to act immediately, do this and that. Oh, we need to go and bomb them. We need to do this. Oh, what's going to happen? Ban all guns. But he said, no, let's stop. It's a horrible thing that happened. So for that specific statement, I give him a John's on.
All right, well, I guess congratulations are in order for Gary Johnson for receiving a John's on his very first item here on Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood. So I guess we're off to a good start, huh?
Yeah, we're off and running.
All right, so what did Gary eventually come out with any statements about this? I mean, I'm obviously setting you up. I know he did.
Yeah, he definitely did. Well, he actually had some pretty nice things to say about gun-free zones from a Libertarian
Nice things to say about them?
Yes. Not nice things to say about the gun-free zones.
I almost jumped right to the off, so.
No, nice things to say for Libertarian ears about gun-free zones. Basically what he said was that gun-free zones aren't proven to keep anybody safer, and neither are gun restrictions. And he went out of his way to even go a step further and say, what if everybody in that nightclub had a gun? what if they were required to have a gun even? They'd all be happily drinking, and it's doubtful that anything like this would happen.
You know what all my liberal friends are going to say? They're going to say they would all shoot each other and everyone would be dead before the shooter even got there.
Right, or that what if they shot somebody else trying to shoot him? That does happen once in a
Not to
blue
go on
moon.
too much of a side tangent, but guess what, guys? These kind of things are going to happen here on this program, especially on this episode. But forget if everyone had a gun for a second. What about if everyone didn't have a gun, which they didn't, and just turned around and started tackling this guy? Now, I know it's hard it's easy for me to sit here and say when I'm not in a nightclub, I haven't been drinking all night, and I'm not confused, there's not loud music.
When I've been drinking, I'm more brave.
I think so, right?
I would be like, all right, I got this.
But this thing went on for 3 hours, and we know at some point everyone was aware of this. I posted a video on Facebook earlier because I think people need to learn ways to defend themselves, and it just showed active shooter situations training where they train everyone to, as soon as an active shooter comes in, everyone tackles him. Everyone tackles him. And even one or two shooters, it doesn't matter what weapon they have. It doesn't matter what they've got on them. If everyone is brave and just goes after the guy, one or two people, yes, could get shot. That's about it. That's all that's going to happen because you can overwhelm somebody so quickly. Look, a gun is only one thing. It's an object. It is not an atomic bomb. You guys can grab it. You can push it. You can push him. Everybody can do this. And it's the fear and the fact that nobody is taught self-defense. We're not taught it in our schools. We're taught to be afraid. And gun-free zones are just another aspect of being afraid.
Hide under your desk and then get to the nearest exit is how
Can you tell I've been fired up about this issue lately?
I can't. I mean,
you can see my face looks like Bill Weld right now. It's bright red.
Has your face been in the freezer?
Get out of the freezer, Claire!
Well, good news. Gary Johnson is in your camp on that issue, so that's fantastic to hear. Gun-free zones are ridiculous. So, Johnson!
All right, so Gary's got 2 in the books already, and as people might out there know that listen to this program, we've been critics of Gary Johnson in many ways throughout the campaign. Not that we hate the guy, I've never met him, nothing personal against him, but I think a lot of people in tune with this stuff are pretty aware that he's not the most adept at expressing libertarian ideas. He doesn't always put liberty in the forefront of his conversation, even when at the end of the day, we probably do end up aligning with him on a lot of positions. So this is another one of those cases. So we're off to a great start.
Oh, I've got some bad news.
Oh no.
We might take a turn. We might take a little bit of a difficult turn.
It was going so well.
Well, hey, we'll start it off on a high note. So
Gary starts every day off on a high note. hey. Well, no, he said he hasn't smoked in 30 days.
He's taking a presidential break.
I've heard him say that he hasn't smoked in 30 days on 2 separate occasions in the last month. Add that up,
60 days apart.
Maybe they were. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Well, that doesn't mean
I think that's his line that he always uses. It's always been 30 days.
It doesn't mean he's not keistering it or taking it in pill form.
Inhaler. They have inhalers now.
Yeah, he could be vaping
it. Eating brownies.
I mean, there's any number of ways. Just mainlining it, just injecting it straight into his veins.
We'll do a separate podcast about all the ways you guys can consume marijuana some other day. But.
Yeah, tune in. It'll be educational.
All right.
So, but Gary, the same line of thinking. All in line with the Orlando shooting and what we're going to do. And so he was then asked about this terrorist Omar Mateen, excuse me.
You get that young man's name right.
Yeah,
Who gives a shit what his name is?
Yeah, exactly right. So he had been investigated by the FBI multiple times. He was on the no-fly list.
For a minute, and then they took him off.
Right, he was on and off and on and off.
Because there was no evidence.
The guy had been vetted over and over again. And you know what? For most mass killers, there is no evidence. There's no indication at all. That's proven. There's no indication. So this is all an exercise of futility anyway.
The crazy thing, not to go on another tangent, but to go on another tangent, where this is basically going to be the gun control show. It just is. We're going to take it over, and Gary, you're getting kicked off the first show. We got other stuff to talk about. But it drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely batshit crazy when people say, this is why we need stricter gun laws, and we need the more background checks. Even though, I had to get a background check when I bought my gun. Maybe it's not true in every single state, in every single circumstance. But this guy had multiple background checks, multiple security clearances, met with the FBI 3 times, clearly had issues. But I'm not even going to blame. People are blaming the FBI for not sniffing the guy out. But guess what? The FBI was right to let him go and right to take him on off the no-fly list. Now, we can say, no, how could you say that? He went and killed these people. Because there was no evidence that he did anything wrong. And at the time, look, this guy was not a member of ISIS, all right? This is like something people are perpetrating out there. Yeah, he said some shit about ISIS, and maybe he was influenced by some YouTube videos, but he was not a member of ISIS. He did not fly anywhere for training. So there was no reason, evidence-wise, which is what you're supposed to have if you're going to even think about taking away anybody's rights, and in this case we're talking about the right to travel, and many people are talking about the right to have a firearm and defend yourself. You do not take away somebody's rights without any evidence at all, and the fact is there was no evidence this guy was going to commit a crime because you can't predict the freaking future.
Well, you know what? That reminds me of this guy, Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia.
This guy gets like 17 JohnsOFFs.
He gets the golden dildo right up his ass.
Mankin or Man-Cout? That'll be our next spinoff.
Mankind
character.
or Manimal?
All right.
Anyway, moving on. So he actually came out and said on Morning Joe, he said that due process, the right to have a trial, the right to be accused of something and defend yourself and have an honest shot, that was quote unquote killing us when it comes to fighting terrorism. And he's looking at this instance.
It's not the fact that nobody there could defend themselves. It's not the fact that sometimes you just can't predict or stop a crazy violent act. No, it's because we have due process.
Because God forbid you have a chance to defend yourself, and there has to be evidence against you before anything can actually be done. Which, how many numerous people have been jailed for nothing, by the way, and then have been let go after years in prison where they did nothing?
In fact, I know that you're going to hear from one of them on an upcoming episode of John Odermatt's Felony Friday. Plug.
There you go, John. That'll be $5.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, getting back to the point. So John was asked about the no-fly zones and the no-fly list, and also if people on the no-fly list should be allowed to have guns or not. He said that they should be allowed to have guns because they were just suspects. There was no proof yet. So that is a John's on.
Wow, Gary is just swinging out of the gates here. He is swinging for the fences. That's 3 ons. I'm starting to think this show is not going to be too controversial.
What's hotter, Gary Johnson or Bill Weld's face?
Still Bill Weld's face.
Always Bill Weld.
Is that 3 Bill Weld's face jokes in the first 15 minutes, by the way?
That's all the show's going to be as it moves forward.
That's our shtick. We're those Bill Weld face jokes guys.
Welcome to the Libertarian Zoo with the Bill Weld face jokes. All right, so that was a positive. Good job, Gary. Although then he went on the Daily Beast. And was asked about his stance about the no-fly list. And then he's
He's against it, though, right?
He said that that government no-fly lists were, stupid. They're idiotic. Anytime the
lists don't work. Government lists don't work.
Governments just don't work. Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, they don't work, so don't use them, right?
Right. And then they asked him, okay, well then would you get rid of the no-fly list? And he said, no, I wouldn't.
Say what?
Yeah, that's right. What a hypocrite. What an idiot.
Let's back things up a second. So Gary Johnson says, we need due process. We shouldn't not have due process. Government lists don't work. They're not accurate. But I wouldn't do away with it.
No, of course not. Because why would you do away with something that you're completely against in every way?
Did he explain why this was at all?
No, he just kind of went off.
All right, next question.
He went off into what we like to call, the land of libertarian make-believe.
All right, Charlie. Neighborhood of make-believe.
We're taking a little journey into the land of liberty make-believe. So I guess Gary's going to take us there every once in a while, it seems like, huh?
Yeah, it seems like. Well, also, we're all kind of living there anyway. I mean, believing that he is truly a libertarian.
Ooh.
Hey, let's just say we're all suspending belief a little bit when we get woken up every time with a little poke of his facts.
So I think it's safe to say that I'm going to go ahead and presume that Gary saying that he would not get rid of the no-fly list is the very first.
John's off!
Oh, man, how sad. I really thought Gary was just going to, bat 1,000 on this show. But yes, indeed, the support, you can say he wasn't supporting it in his language, but at the end of the day, he said he wouldn't remove it. So that is support for the no-fly list as far as I'm concerned. So.
Exactly right. If you're not doing anything about it, you're part of the problem. You are assenting. Your silence is assent. Mm-hmm. So shame on you, Gary.
Not going to do, Gary.
And here's something else I want to bring up too. While we're going down negative road. So Gary's gone on a lot.
Wait, do I have a musical cue for that? No music.
Negative.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Sorry, guys. We can't do everything here.
Gary's been on a lot of talk shows lately.
Okay.
He's been on Colbert.
That's
He's
good?
been on. No, that's good. I'm not going to give him a Johnson for that. I'm not doing
It's
it.
just-
That's
yeah.
just, you know what? It's good. It's very encouraging. It makes me happy if they're being viewed as a real candidate. I guess the two of them melded into one. Meld.
Well done.
So that's great. I'm glad they're out there. Now, the one thing that's really pissing me off, though, is that Donald Trump called them fringe candidates. And Gary Johnson, whoever is advising Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, said, you know what? No, use that negative as a positive and turn it against them. Embrace that moniker. So he's been going on all these shows, and they ask him, oh, are you fringe? And Gary does his Gary way. He goes, well, yeah, we are fringe. We're fringe candidates because we're fiscally responsible and we're liberally social, and that's what
Liberally social.
most Americans are fringe. Now, that was not the best
See,
impression.
that makes
That'll get better as we go along.
That makes no sense to me because what Gary always says is, well, the studies they show, if you look at them, that about 50% of Americans are fiscally conservative and socially liberal. So he's trying to say that everybody is really a libertarian. But if that's the case, then why would you also say, well, yeah, we're fringe. We're not what everybody is. He's sending two different messages here.
And we were talking about recently how
you can also vote on who does the best Gary Johnson impression over at the Lions of Liberty Forum, our private Facebook group, which you can find by typing Lions of Liberty Forum in your search bar. You can also find a link at today's show notes at lionsofliberty.com/220.
It's going to be a best of 3, though. You can't just judge on one.
Yeah, no, we'll
best of 3.
We'll get some more in, I guess.
So, but yeah, exactly right. And he's saying this, oh yeah, we're fringe. And as you know, and as we've discussed, is an aggravating aspect of all of our lives, especially on Facebook and other things. It's a headline-driven media. And people don't even read the story. They just see the headline and they click it. And the headline says, Gary Johnson says they are fringe candidates. That's what everybody's seeing. It's stupid.
You know what I hate about that is when people are like, I'll actually see people openly say, well, I didn't read the article, but then why you stop talking right now? You can stop right there, go read the fucking article, and then make the rest of your stupid comments that I already know is going to be stupid.
I loved your review of The Grudge 2, which you didn't see. None of that was in the movie. You
but
made
I saw
it
the
up.
number 2, and I knew immediately that it was going to be terrible.
I knew it had an Asian in it, and I knew it had a 2 in it.
All right, so I assume that you're giving this little fringe spin a...
Why don't you give it a shot?
All right, I'm going to give this a... JohnsOFF. Ooh, that felt good. You know what else? I have another JohnsOFF for you. Surprise JohnsOFF. Gary Johnson, for never coming on the Lions of Liberty podcast during the Libertarian campaign, gets a.
Oh, JohnsOFF, buddy.
I just had to say it once. I just had to get it off my chest. No big deal. But you can't big time Gary, because you know who I had on 20 some odd episodes ago? Ron Paul. And if you're going to big time me, then you're big time in Ron Paul. And that is definitely going to get you some. I'm not even going to give you another one. I'm just going to move on. But anyway.
All right. Well, let's examine a little bit of the Weld aspect of this relationship, because as you know, they're always together.
The Weld aspect. The Weld is the aspect.
Yeah, Weld. He brings a lot of, people say, original, quote unquote, the original libertarian cachet to the table.
You know what I picture with Gary Johnson and Bill Weld is like when they're that scene in Step Brothers. When they're both interviewing, but you only see I think Will Ferrell. You see, and he's totally doing the interview, and then suddenly. What's his name pops out from behind him.
John C.
Reilly pops out. He's like, hey. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're interviewing as a team. Like, I expect to watch CNN with Gary just talking. Then Bill Weld just pops out from behind him. Like, oh, no, we're interviewing as a couple. Yeah.
And then Anderson Cooper just starts to smell something. And Bill Weld is the one that farted in the interview.
Oh, God.
You know it.
That's a Step Brothers reference. Go watch it. Great film.
It is fantastic. Or just read the title and tell people about it. Headline stop. So let's talk about Weld in a segment which we don't have the music for yet, but we are going to call it the Mind Weld.
That was more like a ghost sound I made. That's why we got to find the sound effects, guys.
Hey, guys, if you have some sci-fi chops, send us a tune. We'll give
sound effect contest.
Yeah,
I'm announcing it right now.
Music.
You send me a sound effect. If we use it, we'll mention you on the show, and I don't know, maybe we'll send you something.
Yeah, put a little.
Don't hold us to that, though. We don't know what you're going to send us, so.
Yeah,
anyway.
We'll figure it out.
Mind Weld.
Mind Weld.
All right. Oh, man, we were so in sync there. Even my little husky Bella was chiming in there on the end of that one.
She
so
nailed it.
Yeah, she did nail it. Nice job. So, Will Weld, what's the first little Weldian item we're going to check off here? And do these offs or ons count? I think I gave something away there. Do these count against Gary's points? How are we going to do this?
I say they do. He chose Bill.
They're welded together, right?
Yeah, they're welded together. He
begged
campaigned
for him.
hard. He said he would not be the candidate without Bill Weld.
Now, if he got replaced with like Larry Sharp or Will Coley, who we might even end up liking more than him, I wouldn't necessarily hold them, their statements against him. But because he said he needed Bill Weld and he begged and pleaded, I need Bill Weld for this campaign. I think because of that, it's fair to hold every Bill Weld statement on against or for or against Gary.
Precisely right. And during campaigning, you're both doing interviews, and they have equal
together
value
in tuxedos,
as far as being blown out of proportion by the media. So Bill Weld said something that is incredibly unlibertarian and reactive. So he was asked about ISIS, again, in response to the Orlando shooting, and that the alleged, the shooter said that he was doing it for ISIS, and they claimed it.
Which is still annoying to me, by the way, because it's not like he was trained by ISIS. He wasn't really in ISIS. If anything, he just said ISIS, and ISIS said, yeah, we're happy he did that.
It sounds like that was more of an excuse, because the guy, they say, had a gay dating profile. It sounds more to me that
there's a lot of issues going on here.
He hated his own sexuality,
and then we can go down the conspiracy rabbit hole. There's the videos where he's in this documentary about the BP oil spill, and he just happens to be the security guard, and he's telling someone, oh no, he's going off about the corruption of BP. It's a weird thing. It's really weird. You'll find these videos everywhere.
Working for the Bilderbergs, all these massive things going on.
Basically, he's the New World Order. He's a shape-shifting reptile. But
anyway. well, Bill Weld was asked about this.
Bill Weld might actually be a shape-shifting reptile. That's a conspiracy theory I could believe.
No, because lizards hate the cold, and as we know, he sticks his face in the freezer.
Our two theories conflict.
They're cold-blooded. We'll figure another theory out.
All right.
So he was asked about this, though, and his response to ISIS and what to do with ISIS, he said, okay, well, domestically, we need to have 1,000 more FBI agents to have a task force that's concentrated on this, so we need to get them cracking on it right now. So he took...
Same FBI who met with the guy 3 times already.
Exactly.
And
what were they going to do? Nothing. Yeah, having 9,997 more guys on the case is going to do anything? No. It's so anti-libertarian to say that you're increasing the size of government.
I love these random numbers politicians. He's such a politician. That's what drives me. That's the one thing I kind of like about Gary is that he doesn't come across as a politician, really. I think that's kind of endearing about him. And then you got William Weld, who just comes across so politician-y. Urgh.
Yeah, he does. And that's probably why they added him to the ticket, because they needed somebody to in their minds, balance Gary out. So for that, Bill, your FBI ISIS lover, you get a JohnsOFFs.
Yeah, you're not going to get any arguments from me there. That's a clear off. And sorry, Gary, you wanted to be welded to the weld, so that off is going to count against you, my friend. And what else? Any other Weldian items here while we're in the Mind Weld?
Well, you had one in mind, didn't you?
I did have one in mind. See?
Mind Weld.
Basically, Bill Weld was on I don't know what show it was, I think MSNBC or something or other earlier. And he said something about the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And this is something, just to set it up, that many libertarians that are not big fans of, not because we're against free trade, we actually are all for free trade, but the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a 10,000-page document. Now, if you are for free trade...
That can be changed on the fly, by the way.
Also can be changed on the fly, something negotiated by Hillary Clinton, who later came out and said she wasn't sure if she's for it, even though she wrote the damn thing.
Clint off.
And help put that thing into place. At the end of the day, the Slum Nation is... The Trans-Pacific Partnership is an authoritarian document that gives governments, and more importantly, many corporations, control over other governments and other people, and it's just a freaking mess. And if you want real free trade, you're going to have one piece of paper that says, everyone can trade freely, and that is the end of the document. So that is just a little setup for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So what did Mr. William Weld have to say when asked about this?
Well, as you'll hear, this is him on Bloomberg today.
Reform, yes.
One of the places where Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are kind of in agreement now is they both have become, neither one of them is exactly a full-throated free trader at this point.
That's awful. That's awful.
How do you feel about that issue?
No, I think it's inexcusable that they don't support the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Again, I'm with the administration here, and I'm certain about that. And since the time of Reagan and Clinton and NAFTA, I can remember being in the Bill Clinton White House with Newt Gingrich and myself and Bill Clinton counting votes with 2 days to go on the North American Free Trade Agreement.
I don't even know where to start here. I mean, let's just start with the fact, I'm going to go backwards, that last thing he was saying there. Here's a guy who's supposed to be an alternative to the establishment in a year where being anti-establishment, unless you're Bill Clinton, is pretty much the path to success. And here he is touting how he's there with Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich and trying to get NAFTA passed and how that's such a wonderful thing. The predecessor to the TPP, NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. How long is that document? Longer than a page. And as I said, if it's really about free trade, it should be a freaking page. Really a lot smaller than a page. So just the fact that he's touting his history of supporting these agreements, these crony agreements, I mean, it's like he's either out of touch or he's trying to prove to the political elite that they're acceptable. That don't worry, Bill Weld's reasonable. He'll support, the things he's supposed to support. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly right, man. And you asked, where do you even start with Bill Weld? I'll tell you, you can't start anywhere and you can't end anywhere. He's like an Ouroboros of suck. It's a never-ending cycle of suck
Aurora
with Bill
Boreas
Weld.
Suckialis, huh?
Yes, exactly, man. He's just, I agree, he's terrible. And how else can you possibly look at this except it's a John's-off?
Yeah, no disagreement here, obviously. Anyone that heard my rant will be aware of that. So, yes, definitely a John's-off. So, what's our final tally here in the first edition? Started off good for Gary, and then things kind of went sour.
Yeah, he took the off-ramp into Shitsville. He is at a 3 Johnsons and 5 John's-off.
Now, he would have been even if we didn't sneak Weldy in here for a couple. So, I mean, depending on how you want to judge this, we'll just be open at home. 3 and 3 if you want to only take Gary. But if you're adding in Weld, which, like I said, for the reasons we stated, it's very, very fair to do so. He's coming out in the negs for Liberty.
And you know what? If you're going to be an apologist for Weld, I welcome that. I want to hear what you have to say. If you can defend him in any way, because there's a lot of apologists out there, and I want to see.
We don't even need to call him apologist. I mean, if you want to defend things he says, we're open to that. And one place where you can do that or join this conversation again, the Lions of Liberty Forum. It's our private Facebook group. It's free to get in. You just need to make sure you're not a spam bot or something. And we have a forum there where we have a lot of lively conversation. And I hope this show will spark more of that. So we invite you guys to be a part of it. We're not doing this show to be haters. Like we said, we had some positive comments to say, and we're going to look for the positive as much as we can. We're going to look for the negative as much as we can. So any other news before we head out?
Let's end on a positive note.
Okay.
Here's a positive note is that CNN is going to have a town hall with Bill Weld and Gary Johnson, and I think that's very encouraging.
In tuxedos together.
Yeah, I pray in tuxedos. So that's encouraging for that. He clearly gets a Johnson.
All right, well, how lovely. We get to end on a positive note. So the final tally is actually 4 and 5.
Yeah, not so bad.
You got on CNN, and that's a big deal. And, just like the negatives of Weld, Gary said he needed Weld to get into these, kind of forums, to get this kind of attention. And I don't know if I suspect he might have gotten it without Weld, but for good or for bad, he is, and we'll judge whether it's good or bad after it actually airs. But, just the fact that he's getting this kind of attention, getting a 90-minute forum or whatever it's going to be, that's a big deal. So
yeah, it's a big enough deal that we're actually going to do a roundtable show just to cover it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be out of town, so you're going to be hosting that one.
I know. The people. They're out in the streets celebrating, shooting off fireworks. Oh, it's going to be fantastic.
So for those of you that don't know, that this Gary Johnson Forum, it airs this coming Wednesday. So give that puppy a gander. Again, come over to our private forum. We'll have a live chat going in there, so you can chat with us about it during, and then we'll record a reaction show sometime after that. That'll air on next Monday's show, 1 week from today, on June 27th. Now, upcoming in between then, we got Mo. We got so much more for you, because this coming Wednesday, guys, I have got an amazing guest. Now, I tout my guests all the time. All my guests are great. I'm not lying to you when I say this is probably a top 5 guest of all time. I'm speaking with a woman named Lily Tang Williams. Many of you saw her passionate speech at the Libertarian Party's National Convention. She is a survivor of communism. She grew up in communist China in terrible, terrible conditions, grew up brainwashed to believe Chairman Mao was a god. So she came from pretty much as far away from libertarian values as you can get, but she has found herself here many years later in America as a passionate libertarian, and I just cannot wait to have her sharing her story with you guys. It is truly fascinating. So look out for that. Of course, on Friday, we've got John Odermatt's Felony Friday, another great look. Well, it's not always a great look because there's a lot of bad things about it and a lot of sadness and turmoil, but he does a great job with it. His weekly look at the criminal justice system, Felony Friday. And then, like I said, next Monday we'll have that roundtable looking at the Gary Johnson Forum with we should have a special guest on there. We'll keep that a secret for now. And one more thing I need to plug real quick. This coming Saturday, June 25th, I'm going to be a very special guest. I'm going to be the first guest on a brand new podcast called The Remzo Republic. Now, what's a Remzo? Well, it's Remzo W. Martinez. He's the host of this brand new show. He's been a writer at Liberty Conservatives. He's contributed to the Johnny Rocket Launchpad's website, Jason Stapleton's website. And why is this a big deal to me? Because Remzo actually reached out to me and told me that, he first learned about libertarianism from the Lions of Liberty podcast. He was looking up the word libertarian on iTunes. This show popped up, and this is really what started his path and got him really interested. That's how he got in touch with the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. That's how he got in touch with Jason Stapleton. It's what eventually led him to start his own show. So I was absolutely touched and flattered to hear that this show has actually not only just changed someone's beliefs, but spurred them into action to create even more great Liberty content out there. And he's already put some mini episodes out that you can check out. So you can go subscribe right now to the Remzo Republic and check it out. And I will be the very first official guest airing this coming Saturday. So I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, man. Remzo it up.
All right. You got anything else to plug in life? You got any paintings that you're working on or poems or?
Nah.
No?
Nah, nothing that's ready for public consumption yet. All
right. Well, keep us updated on that stuff. And, until next time, guys, I think we only got one more message for you, and that is, of course, live long!
And live free! Now take him out with a song. It's a beautiful day in this Libertyhood, a beautiful day for a candidate. Would he be mine? Could he be mine? It's a Liberty day in this Johnsonwood, a Liberty-ish day for a Gary. Would he be mine? Could he be mine? I've never wanted to have a candidate just like you. I've always wanted to have a real libertarian who's schooled. But let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would he be mine? Could he be mine? As long as he acts libertarian. Won't you please, won't you please, please won't you be a principled libertarian?